Welcome to April's Garage. Tyler doesn't really watch football, so I don't lose you to that. But I do lose him to every single auction that's going on. If you can watch it, he is watching it.
Yes.
Even if it's not televised, he's watching it on his phone, whatever.
Yes.
And
watching the results come through.
Exactly. But this one is actually pretty crazy and exciting in Dubai, the RM auction that happened just this weekend.
Right. The Dubai, the people of the UAE, they love exotic cars.
They do.
And they have lots and lots of money to spend on exotic cars. So, yeah, it makes for a very interesting sale.
Oh, yeah.
But one down theme with Dubai, and a friend of mine lives out there, he tells me about this, they really have no interest in like 80s, 90s, late 70s, sort of RAD era or Malaise era supercars or anything. And it could be because
why is that?
Well, partially because of the air conditioning. In the older cars, they don't air condition as well.
Okay.
The blue chip collectibles, like from the 50s and 60s, a Ferrari, fancy Ferrari 275 or their 300 SL, they will do well because that is a status symbol, and you know, they like the status symbols. But that in-between stuff, really cheap.
Right.
And I did notice that with this sale, on all these 80s Ferraris, all these wedge cool Ferraris, with the exception of a Testarossa, they went really, really cheap. Like this 87 308 Quattro valve, $43,700 sold, and its estimate was $46,000 to $74,000. So quite a bit lower than, I mean, sort of towards the low estimate.
Right.
There's another one, 78 Ferrari 308, $74,000 to $92,000 estimate. It only brought 52. And then a 328, which is the same shape but the upgraded V8 engine, much better car. They estimated 92 to 103, and this one only brought 63, which these cars would have done much better in the U.S. And I imagine some of them probably would be bought up and imported here since they're over 25 years old and sold here.
But I wonder if there's a correlation with cars here where they will be looking at our auctions thinking, oh, that went for so cheap, that's crazy, that price of that. Like there could be a back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know about that because it's not hard to import a car from the U.S. or export it to another country with some restrictions, because some special cars, they want to sort of inhibit that and people flipping them. And a lot of them do end up overseas, but it's not hard to bring a car from the U.S. to Dubai. It's hard to bring a car from Europe, from Dubai that's not very old, into the U.S. So definitely a thing. But there were some big money sales at this auction, like bigger than anything that we've talked about in these recent auctions from RM or anybody else. Like insane. So we'll just start leveling up here with the cheaper one. So it's
crazy that you're calling this the cheaper one.
Quite a result. Yeah, 2003 Alpina Roadster V8.
This is so cool, but I will say that I liked your Z8 better because you gave it the Alpina wheels.
Yes.
And made it look nice, and it's a manual where this one is not.
So mine is for sale at Chicago Motor Cars, the one I traded in on the Veyron for $199,000, and you get the M400 horsepower motor, the same as the E39 M5. A wonderful, amazing engine, 6-speed manual.
I like the little ad for your car.
The Alpinas have the pretty wheels, they have the prettier interior, but they got 20 less horsepower with a 4.8 liter engine. They're all automatics.
This is what I don't understand, because
but they sell for
you guys are obsessed with manuals. That's the real man's car right there. And so why would this specialty car not be manual?
Well, because initially the Z8 run was all manual transmissions. You could only get them in manual transmissions. And people complained about that, so they decided to make an automatic version when they weren't selling very well towards the end. And that's what the Alpina was. They made them more expensive. Only 555 is what they said made. So they're much rarer than the normal Z8s, but it's not a better car, and they sell for double. So this one, because it's a weird color, also $410,000 is what it sold for.
The car that they were styled after?
Yes.
Do you remember what that car is?
The BMW 507.
Is absolutely stunning.
Yes.
It's gorgeous, but I'm always surprised by how many cars just kind of remake that retro styling over and over and over again.
Well, this whole era of the 2000s, there were so many retro-inspired cars, and I think the Z8 did it the best. But yeah, Elvis had a 507.
Really?
And I think it was originally white or silver, but there were so many women kissing the car. that the lipstick, like he had it painted red like this,
Yeah.
so that women would stop kissing it and like messing up the paint.
So he didn't like it.
No, he did not like
Okay.
it. So yeah, that is one of the cheaper cars of the auction. The next one I think is something that is pretty undervalued, a 1993 Jaguar XJ220.
Ooh, and 220 was supposed to be its top speed. They're fast.
Very fast. This was the fastest car in the world for a minute, for like a month, or maybe not quite a year, because then the McLaren F1 came out.
Right.
And totally spanked it. But beautiful car.
Beautiful silver
amazing
spot,
design.
over smoke gray leather interior, which is very, very wild.
Yeah,
very
they
beautiful.
got 542 horsepower out of a V6 back in '93.
Looks super low.
Yeah, it's based off their race cars
Right.
of this era that were very successful. And they chose to go with the V6, which people didn't like, but it's still really fast. These things, I think, are bargains, because the car that dethroned it, the McLaren F1, is a $10 to $15 million car. And this one only sold for $466,000.
Right, but look at the inside, the interior, the knobs and controls look cheap.
Yeah.
Like they look very basic, kind of like 90s, 2000s
They didn't
American
care.
looking
They didn't care.
controls.
But that's the same with Jaguar and Aston Martin back in the 90s anyway. Everything was sort of shared with different things. So it's kind of endearing to me, at least.
Now, do you think this selling for a little bit lower could be part of the wave of their new marketing? That it's sort of kind of...
Good question. I don't know. But in the U.S., I felt like these are $600,000, $800,000
Right.
cars. So I feel like this was a bargain. Maybe it needed lots of servicing. I know these things are just insane to keep running. And they have these weird fuel bladder things that collapse and all kinds of, like finding parts for them, impossible. When they raced one in Top Gear when it was like 15 years old, a long time ago, a lot of stuff didn't work on this car. I think Jaguar provided them.
Right.
Because they just couldn't keep them running.
Right.
But still a very, very interesting, major piece of history.
What do you think
and
the wheel
extremely
choice
rare.
of it?
Oh, it's just they're staggered, so it's deeper dish in the back. But it says they only made 281 examples of these, so
okay,
very,
so rare.
very low production. Next up,
Ooh,
yeah, SLS Black Series. So I had a normal SLS. They made thousands of those. The Black Series is amazing.
But this is the only one in Mystic Blue, which is interesting because other guys or people then changed their color to Mystic Blue, but this was the only one painted out of the factory like this.
Right. So only 350 Black Series total. They're on their way to $1 million. They'll be there soon.
Yeah.
$820,000.
Really, really sexy. Of course, the gull-wing doors, the iconic. Would you rather have, well, you've had one of these.
Right.
How do you feel about it? Do you like it, or would you rather own what it's based off of, the 300 SL back in the day?
Well, obviously I'd have a 300 SL.
Okay.
And I had the SLS and the SLR at the same time.
Right.
The SLR is the one that's still standing because it feels
Yeah.
like an occasion. It feels more special to drive.
Yeah.
The McLaren Heritage, it just feels a lot more special. Even though it's slower and
Right.
weird brakes and all that stuff, that feels like an occasion to drive, and I always got it and drove it over the SLS. Would a Black Series make a difference? I don't know. They're very rare. They look
Yes.
amazing. They always sold for way above their MSRP. They were just instant classics. And I do think of all the Black Series, this is the coolest. Because they made SLK Black Series, they made CLK Black Series. They've been doing it forever. Most recently with the AMG GT Black Series, which they priced very high. Because all these in the secondary market have sold for way above their original MSRP. So
It's very cool. One of
$820,000.
350 made.
Right. So next, McLaren
Hello.
P1, Hypercar Holy Trinity. I think this was another deal when you talk about in comparison to US, because it sold for only $1,186,000.
Right.
Versus in the US, there's some that have sold for over $2 million,
Now,
including
is
like
this-
Freddie's P1 before it was flooded out. I think it sold
Oh,
for
it's
$2 million.
flooded? I didn't know. Really?
Yeah.
Now,
So-
is out of the Holy Trinity, the three of those hypercars, would you say this is the best one? Is this the fastest one?
It's the lowest production one, and some say is the best. I think what was 275 of these made, compared to like 500 of the LaFerrari,
Right.
and then 918, I think, of the 918s. So that makes it easy to remember.
How do you remember? Well, that one's easy.
Yeah.
I will tell you, working at Barrett Jackson for years, and Tyler first came on, I'm like, who is this guy? When Mike Joy, who's kind of our senior talent, the like pinnacle, he knows everything. When Mike asked you about one of these cars,
All the new modern
in
stuff,
the
like
Holy
but
Trinity,
then he knows
that
year-to-year
was-
differences on Camaros and everything else
right,
that I'll never
but that
know.
was the first time that I was like, oh, Who is Tyler Hoover?
But I screw up too. When you have to talk about cars straight for 10 hours on television.
It's a lot.
And your brain fart and sometimes say something incorrect. Sometimes I do it on this in front of you guys and you correct me in the comments. So it's not like I'm some crazy savant. But I think this is a bargain
Volcano
at
orange.
$1.1 million.
It's beautiful.
Hopefully it doesn't need a battery because that could be 200 grand. The person
Those
who...
pedals remind me of the Cybertruck where they need to put a little fastener in that pedal right there.
No, that's bolted in really well, but I get what you mean. So the person who traded in the Veyron that I bought, he traded it in on a P1. So he considered this an upgrade.
Wow.
But then I think he switched back to a Chiron after that.
Okay.
So I went back to Bugatti. Still pretty amazing car, but yeah, we're already in the $1 million range very quickly.
So cool. Here's
but
another orange.
Senna beat the P1. I found this very interesting. So a 2019 McLaren Senna LM, very especially only 20 of these, sort of the race car version, but still street legal. And the Senna's already like a crazy race car for the street anyway.
It does not look street legal. Like, I kind of don't believe you right now.
Right. $1,467,500.
It's crazy.
And I thought the Senna would be a great car when I was doing this crazy hypercar shopping and got the Bugatti, but everybody told me they just drive so terrible on the road.
Well, that's what's
so
great
loud, no
about
insulation.
the Bugatti is very comfortable. It seems very easy to drive. I haven't driven it yet.
Apparently they're amazing on the track, but then when you try and take them on the road and like all the noise, because there's no insulation, they're lightweight and they're so harsh. The seats are so uncomfortable that 30 minutes and you're done. You're ready to get out.
I mean, a lot of these hypercars and supercars are very much like that. It's in papaya orange.
Right. So, yeah, but this one, $1,467,500. So beat the P1. This is the newer car. This is McLaren's Super Series special car.
Is this one that had the 24 karat gold insulation under the hood?
Yes, the Devarge tape is what you mean? Yes.
What is it called? The Devarge?
So Freddie does that to all of his cars. He buys the gold-plated tape and wraps it around. I think that's his signature.
It's so cool.
He needs to sell Devarge tape for like the holidays or something.
I love
like that.
the quad exhaust there. It looks really beautiful. Wait, where's more? I need more pictures. Oh, look at, they painted the exhaust tips in gold.
Yes.
How pretty is that?
Yes, and that will shoot flames. But it's interesting. I find it very interesting that the Senna is already, even though this is a rare LM version, I get it, but it's outperforming a P1 in Dubai. So this is more flashy.
It is.
The battery reputation with the hybrid stuff, and like I don't want to spend 200 grand and all the stupid things. When I got all the service records on the Bugatti, I actually got one from the P1, and it had a strut fail on it, like one shock.
Right.
And it was $30,000. For these, like the very active, like this is a race car. It's much more basic in that sense. So this might be the car that people want more than, a finicky F1 or P1 as it ages. Yeah. Next is the Lamborghini Centenario LP774. Here we go. $2 million. Still got a long ways to go on price. This is still in the cheap seats for Dubai.
I
$2 million.
love this car. I love that the rear wing sits in the body because it almost looks like a speed tail in the back, and it's really sexy. And that front splitter that's highlighted in blue, like they just did a really beautiful job on this.
I don't get these at all.
I love it. Good, because if I get one, you're not driving it.
Well, they're extremely rare. I think they made like 20 coupes and 20 convertibles. Some of them really low production, and you paid millions of dollars for something that is on an Aventador chassis with an Aventador engine that's been hopped up. You could go buy an SVJ and have something that performs better than this, I think.
Oh, I love this car.
An Aventador SVJ for like $600,000-$700,000.
Yeah.
Or spend $2 million for this. And the only part that really sets it apart is the rear with the crazy strakes in the rear and all that stuff. The aerodynamics in the rear, which is a really cool shot. But
it's gorgeous.
You're paying a lot.
Look at all the aircraft style levers down in the center console there. Like, this is a really sexy, really cool car. I will say that the screen on it, which is right now very cool, futuristic, it's going to look dated, which is why I love the Bugatti, because it doesn't have any screen in there, because some of these cars get dated looking really fast with the digital screens that are from back in the day.
I'm having fun validating my Bugatti purchase here with all this stuff.
Good.
But that screen, that's right out of Aventador.
Yeah.
You're buying a fluffed up Aventador.
I love fluff.
And
the seats, look at how gorgeous the detailing and the styling on that is. It's a fun car.
Same with the second coming.
You just relax over there. I like this.
The Countach came back on the Aventador.
Okay, so you're like, oh, what's next? Nothing to see here.
It's just a way to get money out of rich people. Like, let's build a very small edition, call it something else, make it look totally different, but
I'll take it.
I just have an Aventador. So next up, we have the Aston Martin Valkyrie.
This is so cool. These are so
A race
sexy.
car for the street, only 150 of them made, $2,648,000.
There's no way you can drive that on the street.
Well,
There's
it is
no
road
way.
legal.
There's no way.
It is absolutely
looks
road legal.
Way too wild. To
I don't
drive
think
on the
they ever
street.
made it in the U.S. because there's no way that it could. Yeah, they didn't want to crash test them.
It is so cool. Do you
Show
know
and display,
that
maybe.
the wheels weigh less than the tires? That is how much weight-saving technology has gone into this. It is wild.
It is beautiful, and it was supposed to be this really cool, exclusive Aston Martin that is an instant collectible that people are fighting over, but.
Oh no.
$2,648,000. That's a lot, but new they wanted $3.5 million.
Okay, so they're not holding the value.
Still that legendary Aston Martin depreciation.
Right.
2 years of owning this
150.
car, and somebody lost $1 million.
Ouch, that's rough.
Right.
That is rough. So then is this the time to buy one? Or do you think they're going to go somewhere, or you think it's toast, they're done?
I'd be pretty scared if I owned one or was buying one. I don't know where they're going to level out at because Aston Martin is just one of those brands that they just can't build value.
Well, and I hear that a lot with you and your friends when you guys are talking, and you're talking about Aston Martins, and the
Right.
values are always slipping down.
Yes, and most recently they've been talking about the crashing values of like even the icons, the DB5, the DB6s, the James Bond style.
Right.
Like the Vanquish I have right there, that was
Right.
$200 and something thousand new, and they struggle to get 40s.
Right.
A very special car
yeah.
back then. They even put the James Bond movie. Pierce Brosnan came back with this amazing Aston Martin that was invisible and everything. They can't build value
These are
in
so
their
cool.
heritage, so the depreciation is just massive.
And what do you call it, the mono wiper
Yep.
on a curved windshield? Like,
Yep.
how do you even design that to actually work and get the rain off?
Very race car.
Very cool.
very race car. So, $2,648,000, not even close to the top two.
So you're saying it's a deal for a Valkyrie?
I don't know about that. Pagani Huayra. I went to Jeremy Clarkson. Huayra.
It's called the
These would be so cool to go to Dubai and watch.
BC Coupe.
So cool.
$4,336,250.
So cool. Do you know what Huayra means?
Huayra.
The god of wind.
I think
Yeah.
I remember them making fun of that on Top Gear, where they were making fart jokes.
Yes, you are the god of wind.
I hide it from you. I walk away.
You think you do.
You just pretend not to notice?
Yes.
I thought I was being more subtle with my God of Wind. Sorry. So the Pagani Huayra.
Yeah, it's cool. Oh my, look at the interior.
It's stunning.
It doesn't
car.
look like it should be driving. It just looks like a beautiful work of art.
They are total artwork. Every time I see one in person, I just stop and spend several minutes looking at it. Like every inch
It's
of the car.
gorgeous.
It's just
Look at the
incredible.
Lights on the gauges lighting up. That's
Yep.
just really, really stunning. Every inch, all the carbon fiber, what Kevlar probably, just unbelievable car.
But the Huayra wasn't the top spot, but it was a Pagani. It was the older one.
Ooh.
The Pagani Zonda
Right.
LM Roadster.
Which I guess like the Zonda's like the golden child for them. But what is so special? This one, $11 million.
$11 million.
And a little bit
The
more than
top
11
sale of the
million.
day. This one is totally one of a kind. It's like the swan song, I think, for the Zonda, where they just threw everything at it.
Mm-hmm.
All exposed carbon fiber. But the big difference, I
Look
think.
at the pedals.
Yeah.
How great is it? It's like in the shape of a foot, and the stop, the brake, it's a circle. It's beautiful.
Yes, the big difference, though, is the Roadster.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the air intake. Sticking up
So cool.
right in between
Reminds
the
me of
driver and
Did you ever
passenger's
see
head.
the old War of the Worlds movies with the aliens? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what that intake kind of looks like. Okay, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get in so much trouble, but can you look at the exhaust?
Okay.
Whenever I see round exhausts like that,
Uh-huh.
I just always think of a butthole. Do you think of a butthole?
It's like a turbine car, like a turbine, like a jet
but
engine.
when they're smaller like that, it just, I'm sorry. And I know this is like $1 million, $11 million
car. And
to
it's
say
just
that, but
absolutely
that's just where
stunning
my brain
work
goes
of
when I
art.
see. I know. I'm sorry.
Everything beginning to end.
It's absolutely beautiful. This car could go to the moon easily.
They called this the pinnacle of the product range for Pagani, and it sold at $11 million for a car.
Right. Dubai is like off the charts with all their supercars, hypercars. But for Hoovie's Garage, if you had an extra, let's say, 11 million laying around, would it be this car that you'd bring home, or out of all the cars we looked at, which one would you like in your garage?
I don't think I could ever own an $11 million car.
No.
I'd have like $10 million cars.
Yes.
It's always quantity over quality.
So is there one in here that you wish you would have gotten?
Of that bunch, I mean, nothing that I would really want to jump out and buy. Like I have to have. The P1 would be really cool, but I'd be terrified. The SLS Black Series would be really cool, but I'd rather have a normal SLS that I wouldn't be scared to drive. The XJ220.
Yeah?
That would be really cool. That'd be very challenging to keep going and keep on the road, but I guess of all those cars, like that seems to be the value in the pick, like for the bang for the buck and the enjoyment, and like it's just so cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd probably be the XJ220.
I like it.
And I'd just keep the other 9 million.
And
spend
buy
spend it on you.
hoopties after hoopty after hoopty.
I'd spend it on you. All of it on you.
We're already engaged. You don't need to play that. Thanks so much for watching.